Hello, and welcome to the Winona History Center. The Winona History Center tells the history of the town of Winona Lake. The town's history is divided into three time periods. The first, from 1884 to 1919, tells about the Chautauqua years. And Chautauqua is a place where people gather to take classes and hear famous speakers, politicians, musical concerts, and dramas. Winona Lake began in 1881, when three brothers with the last name of Byer bought land around what was then called Eagle Lake. They wanted this land because it had lots of natural water springs to cool the milk from their dairies. Eagle Lake's name was later changed to Winona Lake. The Byer brothers also started a resort called Spring Fountain Park. The park hosted many plays, concerts, authors, and speakers. In 1894, the Byer brothers sold the park, and it became the Winona Assembly and Summer School. It was a very popular summer vacation site. Many people came to take classes and hear the famous speakers. There were also rides, like an early roller coaster. In one summer, 250,000 people came to the assembly. A special railroad was even built to connect Winona Lake to other Indiana towns of Goshen and Peru. Some of the famous speakers are pictured here. In the top left, you see politician William Jennings Bryan. To his right is the Hoosier poet James Whitcomb Riley. Underneath is the patriotic musician John Philip Sousa, whose music is often heard on July 4th. And to his left is deaf and blind speaker and writer Helen Keller. James Whitcomb Riley is called the Hoosier poet and is considered the most famous Indiana author of the late 1800s and early 1900s. He wrote in vernacular, meaning he spelled words as people said them. So a pumpkin is a pumpkin. This picture shows fodder or corn stalks in a shock or bunch of corn. See if you hear any other vernacular words as you hear the poem When the Frost is on the Pumpkin. When the frost is on the pumpkin and the fodder's in the shock, and you hear the kayak and gobble of the strutting turkey cock, and the clacking of the guineas and the clucking of the hens, and the rooster's hallelujah as he tiptoes on the fence. Oh, it's then the times a feller is a-feelin' at his best, with the risin' sun to greet him from a night of peaceful rest, as he leaves the house bareheaded and goes out to feed the stock, when the frost is on the punkin and the fodder's in the shock. They's somethin' kind o' hearty-like about the atmosphere, when the heat of summer's over and the coolin' fall is here. Of course we miss the flowers and the blossoms on the trees, and the mumble of the hummin' birds and buzzin' of the bees, but the air's so appetizin', and the landscape through the haze of a crisp and sunny morning of the early autumn days is a picture that no painter has the colorin' to mock, when the frost is on the punkin and the fodder's in the shock. The husky rusty rustle of the tossels of the corn, and the raspin' of the tangled leaves as golden as the morn. The stubble and the furries, kind o' lonesome like, but still, a preachin' sermon to us of the barns they growed to fill. The straw stack in the medder, and the reaper in the shed, the hosses in their stalls below, the clover overhead. Oh, it sets my heart a-clickin' like the tickin' of a clock, when the frost is on the punkin and the fodder's in the shock. Then your apples all is gethered, and the ones a feller keeps is poured around the cellar floor in red and yeller heaps, and your cider makin's over, and your women folks is through with their mince and apple butter, and their souse and sausage too. I don't know how to tell it, but if such a thing could be, as the angels wantin' boardin', and they'd call around on me, I'd want to 'commodate 'em all the whole endurin' flock, when the frost is on the punkin and the fodder's in the shock. From 1920 to 1945, Winona Lake went through some changes. This time period saw the Winona Lake Christian Assembly, which was the world's largest Bible conference. Thousands of people came each summer to take Bible classes and hear famous speakers. This era also brought two of Winona Lake's most famous residents. One of them was Billy Sunday. Billy Sunday moved to Winona Lake in 1911. He was a former baseball player for the Chicago White Stockings, which became the Chicago Cubs. He became a traveling preacher going across the United States and speaking to large groups. In all, he held 548 speaking events and 39 years of preaching. He spoke to more than 100 million people, inviting them to walk the sawdust trail. This famous phrase referred to the fact that most of the tabernacles where Sunday spoke had sawdust on the floor. While speaking, Sunday would invite anyone who made a religious decision to walk down the aisle to the front and shake his hand, or walk the sawdust trail. Billy Sunday was also known for speaking against drinking alcohol during the time of Prohibition. Billy Sunday built his home called Mount Hood in Winona Lake in 1911. He raised his daughter and 3 sons here. After Billy died in 1935, his wife Helen lived in the home until she died in 1957. She left the home as a museum. You can still visit it today. Another famous resident of Winona Lake was Homer Rodeheaver. He joined Billy Sunday in 1910 to be Sunday's song leader. He played the trombone and had a beautiful singing voice. He began a music production business and purchased copyrights and popularized many gospel songs. He also made gospel records and published songbooks. Rodeheaver moved the headquarters for his music business to Westminster Hall in Winona Lake in 1941. This building is where the Winona History Center is located today. You can see pictures of Westminster and Rodeheaver's original offices at the bottom here. One of Rodeheaver's favorite songs to sing was called Brighten the Corner, encouraging people to be an inspiration to those around them. Brighten the corner where you are. Brighten the corner where you are. Someone far from harbor you may guide across the bar. Brighten the corner where you are. Do not wait until some deed of greatness you may do. Do not wait to shed your light afar. To the many duties ever near you, now be true. Brighten the corner where you are. After 1945, the Bible conferences weren't as popular. Although people still came to hear famous speakers like Billy Graham, attendance dwindled. In 1968, Grace College assumed ownership of the Bible Conference and began using its buildings. Today, one of the most popular locations in Winona Lake is Grace College, which started as a seminary in 1939 and added the college in 1948. Today, it is a thriving liberal arts college. Another popular site in Winona Lake today is the Village at Winona, a collection of unique and interesting shops and restaurants. Thank you for taking this virtual tour of the Winona History Center. We welcome you to come visit us anytime when we are open. You can also take a virtual tour of the Billy Sunday home at the link displayed here.